All right, everybody, welcome back. It's 14 after the hour. We're coming to you live from Fort Worth, Texas. We are on Froggy's Beach Patrol for the Dallas-Fort Worth Texas Regional Normal Conference, featuring myself, Judge Jim Gray, Keith Stropp, Eric Altieri, Rob Campia. Plenty of people will be here. And we're going to bring you live coverage, at least audio coverage. We'll bring you what we can from the conference starting tomorrow. So check that out right here on 420radio.org. We'll also be calling in a little later tonight live on the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. But at this point, it's time for us to go behind the headlines, and I wanted to report a little bit about the rest of America. That is North America, South America. You know, there's plenty more America than just our America. And there's a story coming out of the New York Times entitled, "In America's Resistance to Legal Marijuana." They recently had the General Assembly for the Organization of American States. Now, this is the organization that basically is for the Western Hemisphere. All of the North American, Central American, and South American countries belong to this organization. And it made some headlines a couple weeks ago when they called for flexible approaches in drug policy and that we seriously discuss the legalization of marijuana. And there are already some countries in Latin America that are taking the lead on this issue. Uruguay has moved toward a state-regulated marijuana market. Guatemala has talked approvingly of legalization. And the president of Colombia says that marijuana should be legalized worldwide, but he doesn't want Colombia to be the first country to do it. Also in Colombia, we've got reports of how they are using marijuana to get some addicts off of bazuco, which is a kind of a crack cocaine sort of substance. But in other countries in Latin America, it's not such a good story. Other countries, you know, they tend to be more conservative, socially conservative, when they're discussing these sorts of issues. And there's a lot of these countries that are rejecting the idea of legalization, and not just the United States. Brazil has opposed the legalization of any drug, and their drug czar in Brazil was actually fired 2 years ago after he made comments that some people said were kind of soft on drugs. So that's a different situation, and of course, largest country in South America. The head of Peru's anti-drug agency told reporters after that report came out that it rejects legalization and was already overwhelmed with trying to deal with drug consumers and drug addicts. Mexico also has rejected wholesale legalization, even though former President Vicente Fox expressed his support this week for legalization. In fact, even up in Seattle, saying he'd become part of a co-op of marijuana farmers. And another anti-legalization voice coming from the Latin American countries comes from Nicaragua. Dennis Moncada, the ambassador to the organization, told the gathering, quote, "Replacing and weakening the public policies and strategies now in use to combat the hemispheric drug problem would end up creating dangerous voids and jeopardize the security and well-being of our citizens," end quote. Now, of course, that dangerous void would be, gosh, if we take marijuana away from these desperate criminals, they'll have to sell something else. I don't know who they're going to sell it to. Also, speaking on Wednesday on his first trip to Latin America as our Secretary of State, former Senator John Kerry said he was open to dialogue about legalization, but defended America's policy, calling it a comprehensive, balanced approach between reducing demand and reducing supply. He also says that drug use has decreased 40% in recent years and that we need to increase treatment. Yet Kerry, of course, still endorses the pattern of seizure and interdiction and allowing the criminals to continue to run the marijuana market. Now, several countries in the Latin American states, including Mexico and Peru, have already decriminalized possession or use of small amounts of illicit drugs. The United States is arguing that it has effectively decriminalized marijuana through the use of drug courts, which steer nonviolent drug offenders to treatment programs instead of prisons. And this is the refrain we are going to continue to hear from our U.S. drug officials, is that we are all
Are you back, Russ?
That policy for our drinkers. We should not expect that policy for our marijuana smokers. So this is in New York Times. You can check this out through our news links at news.radicalruss.com. In America's Resistance to Legal Marijuana, NewYorkTimes.com. We're coming to you live from Froggy's Beach Patrol in Fort Worth, Texas, with Dallas Fort Worth Normal at the beginning of the Texas Regional Normal Conference. It's taking place the next 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Check in with us all day at 420radio.org. We'll be bringing you live coverage. I can talk to you at all.